Hello, this is Jay Mitchell, and we're back with another episode of the Libertarian Uncensored podcast, where we talk about all the posts from Libertarian Uncensored. So, alright, let's get right into it. Biden considers 14th Amendment to solve debt limit, but it's a risky solution, from WFA.com by her and I think, I think they always try and abuse that one, that 14th Amendment. The government tries to abuse whatever powers it has, but yeah, we'll see how that plays out. I think, it doesn't, really matter, I would say, if they solve the debt limit. You just can't say, I don't think it really matters or not. The debt's just gonna keep going up, and someday, we'll see the effects of that, hopefully we can get it done soon. We haven't been debt-free since I think either Jackson or Van Buren was in office, and I don't think we're gonna see it again anytime soon, and that to that effect. Then we have Australian Prime Minister says he is working to free WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange from NBCDFW.com by her And I said on that one, I'll believe it when I see it. I would expect another CIA back coup if it does go through. So we'll see. Yeah, I don't think we're ever getting Julian Assange to be freed, so we'll see. Hopefully we can get him freed, but I definitely would expect another, Australia maybe be the next Ukraine in that situation, I would say. Josh Hawley wants the debt ceiling deal to include a massive tax hike on Americans. Hawley might call them tariffs on China, but that's obvious nonsense. Tariffs are paid by Americans. From Reason.com by her I would agree with that, I'm personally very anti-tariff, very anti-tax, I think we need a natural economy without government interference, so I think we need just no government interference, I personally think even having U.S.-backed money is going too far. I think we just need to have our own money, like Bitcoin, I would say, something like Bitcoin that's not government-backed, and we'll see how that plays out. So I definitely would agree with that headline, yeah. Then we have how a powerful Texas lawmaker and his family made $500,000 for a few phone calls, from TexasMonthly.com by her and let's see what this is. Depositions in a recent lawsuit reveal that State Rep Tom Craddock, his wife and son, and his daughter Christy, who leads Texas's oil and gas regulating agency, profit from industry deals not available to just anyone. You see, that's the thing of government, they don't do it for you, it's like that, we had that, it's like, look at all the insider trading they do, it's the thing is that the government is inherently corrupt, and it's important to realize that, and that's why I think, we shouldn't really be having government right now. It's gonna be just inherently corrupt, and will be, always prone to influence from lobbyists and special interests and military-industrial complex and unelected bureaucrats and all that. So that's my thoughts on that issue. So I'm not really surprised this is all, it's like the 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 time I've seen this headline, I would say, and I expect to see it again in the future, I would say. MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell taken to court for refusing to pay the person who proved him wrong, from Reason.com, another one by her And yeah, I definitely think Mike Lindell is kind of a whack job, but I guess that's kind of how it is currently, and we'll see how that goes. Yeah. A lot of whack jobs out there. I would say I'm one of them, I would say. But, Elrod Williams said, you're only born for one spark of madness, don't lose it. So, yeah, we'll go with that. I know this wasn't removed by the mods of the sub, so that means the users of the sub are reporting me to weaponize Red Ad and censor me. How cute and typically authoritarian of you, and you know who you are, and that's how I advertise, and that's how whenever mod of the sub censored one of his comments. And, because it could have been interpreted as a threat, I guess. So, I personally am very anti-censorship, but it doesn't censor me. You do have to act within the boundaries of what the authority says, because, the platforms, I would say, are inherently authoritarian. And that's why, we need a more decentralized internet, I would say. But, the thing of a decentralized internet is we hard to get to, because people just tend to naturally gather around centralization, I would say, and that's important to remember. Yeah. Then we have, why the end of Title 42 returned our southern border back to normal, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security says the number of legal crossings has dropped by more than half, from WFA.com by her I think that just might be the government lying, but we'll see how that plays out, you know, so, yeah, we'll, see, yeah, so, I definitely think we've got, some chaos on the border right now, at least that's, you know, when the whatever the media says, you know, it depends what the party in power is, I would say, so, yeah, so it's definitely, always kind of chaotic down there for all the people wanting to get into the U.S., I would say. I personally would say I'm more for open borders, but I guess you have a libertarian argument against them too for the welfare state that we have currently, so that's my thoughts on that issue. Leaked government document shows Spain wants to ban end-to-end encryption. It's an archive link from Wired, and yeah, I would definitely agree that that is too far, but you know, the governments, I definitely think we're just going to get more and more of that as time goes on. Yeah. TikTok sues Montana over its new law banning the app from NPR.org by her umph. And I guess I would agree with that, you know. I definitely think TikTok is Chinese spyware, but everything's probably spyware at this point to some extent, I would say. And that is important to remember, so we'll see how that plays out. And yeah, I definitely think you shouldn't be banning any apps, maybe child pornography apps and snuff films, rather than, I don't know, even then I think you still could have a libertarian argument for them, because, you know, it's just footage of the past, you would say, but I personally, no, I think that's a little too far for me, but I definitely think TikTok, you know, I think TikTok's okay, even though it is Chinese spyware, but, you know, it's not really banned in Montana, it's more so that people can still use it, but the Montana AG is just going to sue the company itself for every time it's used in the state, which is not going to really be effective. You know, you just can't. You know, governments. I don't think state governments really have the power to ban anything when it comes to the internet, because, you know, it's set up more on a national system than a state-based system, I would say, and that's important to remember. As bills scrutinizing bathroom use proliferate, a female Episcopal priest was targeted for using the women's restroom at a diocesan event this weekend. From Whittling Dan, and that's a link to a tweet from Kara Enslade. Hotel employee at Doubletree, Cherry Hill, New Jersey, just tried to throw me, a woman with short hair, out of the women's restroom during a diocesan event. Very cool. And yeah, let's see. So we'll see how that goes, and yeah, so I definitely think, you know, you should be able to use whatever bathroom you want, but it depends who has the force to maintain you in there. You know, some people might take offense if you have the wrong appearance, and they might come after you, so that's important to remember as well, so we'll see how that goes. Then we have the Durham report revealed that those who had constantly warned you about disinformation were actually the biggest spreaders of disinformation on the planet. The CIA and FBI can never be trusted, and it's time to put an end to both of them, from LP National. That's a tweet from them, and I posted that. And I said, I don't think we should stop with just the CIA and the FBI there, you know. I think, you know, the U.S. government is something that's inherently corrupt, and I think we need to pursue the nuclear option. I think we gotta reset the whole thing. You know, we just gotta say, oh, this government doesn't have legitimacy, you know. You know, I would say the left would agree with that, because, you know, it's always a bunch of old white men who may have found it from in, like, the 18th century. But I'd say, you know, the thing is, no governments really have legitimacy. They only have the legitimacy the people give them, and that's important to remember. Let's see. Next we have, in Maryland, one of the tiniest states, noted Christian grooming is at epidemic levels. Where is the Republican outrage? Trans people, why are they deflecting instead of holding their own accountable? And that is by Chi-Town. That's a tweet from Catholic Vote. Protecting kids from explicit sexual content equals anti-LGBT noted. And then Alejandro Caraballo responded, maybe you have to protect kids from priests. More than 600 children abused by priests in Maryland over 80 years, says staggering report. So, you know, I definitely think you should try and protect kids from everyone at this point. I would say people are something that's inherently dangerous, and people are naturally corrupt. So I definitely think that it's not a nice world, and it's important to remember that. Then we have can police ask you for your doorbell video? Yes and no from NBCDFW.com by Harumph. And, yeah, so, I definitely think you should be able to give police whatever you want to, but I don't think you should be forced to give them anything. I've been clear that, if you don't want, even if you have like a kidnap victim in your house, you should be able to deny police entrance to you because you know, they could always be chosen the wrong house, and if they chose the right house, you know, they have a right to just storm into your property. You know, if they can justify storming into your property for a reason to save someone, you know, they can extrapolate that out to we can justify storming your property for whatever reason we feel like, and that's important to remember. So we'll see how that goes, and yeah. So the thing is that, you know, if you give the police any authority whatsoever, they can naturally, the government as well, they can naturally, well, the police are government, so they can naturally stretch out that authority to an extent that to any extent they feel like, because they have the monopoly on force on their side, and I think we need to remember that as time goes on. Then we have, really interesting situation here takes by Mudhugging Inc., and that's a link to the, NY Assembly Health Committee, from Public Freedom subreddit. NY Assembly Health Committee just passed Bill A276B, which allows minors consent to STD treatment, drugs, and vax shots without parental consent. So, I don't know. I guess you could argue that minors could consent to that, but I definitely think we're starting to get to the point where we're saying minors can consent to too much, and I think that's important to remember. So we'll see how, what the reaction to this is, and if the government can say, oh, minors consent to whatever they feel like, you know, minors, soon it might be minors can consent to sex, and I think that's definitely going too far, but we'll see if we get to that point. I definitely think that's coming soon, it feels like. Then we have tanks crossed into Russian Federation from Ukraine to liberate Russian speakers. Russia accuses Ukraine of mounting sabotage attack across border from CNN.com, and that's, I think, that's by Vijospil. And that is about the new Belgorod thing. I think that might be something the U.S. is astroturfing as well to cause more chaos out than the proxy war, I would say. So we'll yeah. So I think the thing here is that you definitely are getting more into invading Russia now, and I definitely think, you know, they're trying to market this defensive war, and I think soon we'll see it blow up. It feels like it's about to blow up like World War III any day now, I would say, but it doesn't seem to happen. You know, a lot of things feel like they're about to happen, but they just don't seem to happen. So what happens, I think you'll know it, but I don't know how soon that will be. Then we have Border Patrol shoots and kills Arizona man who called them for help from Reason.com, and I think we had that story earlier, but I definitely think that, we had it in the last episode, we talked about that, and I definitely think that's a little too far. You shouldn't be shooting and killing people as long as they're not violating the NAP, I would say. You could, I guess if you're really into the protected borders, that you could argue crossing a border is a NAP violation, but I personally wouldn't say that. I would disagree with that, yes. Then we have TikTok sues to stop authoritarian capitalist government of USA District, Montana from enforcing its unconstitutional ban on freedom of speech from ArsTechnica.com. That's another one by Chi-Town. And we'll see. Let's see. I definitely think I probably side with TikTok, as I said earlier, but we'll see what the court says, and if the state government even recognizes the court as legitimate, you know, that's important. You know, we can increasingly justify recognizing all the institutions as illegitimate, I would say, and that's important to remember. You know, you shouldn't be forced to recognize any institution as legitimate, I would say. I would agree with that, yeah. The North Carolina legislature is going to override a veto on a universal school choice bill, so the state's tyrant Democrat governor, Roy Cooper, is declaring a state of emergency unreal from Young Americans for Liberty on Twitter, and I posted that. And it's like, I said, the words state of emergency are getting so overused, they're practically meaningless. It's like social media is always like, they're always like using overused words so much, you know, like genocide and World War III, you know, it's just like, what even matters anymore, you know, it's just the same buzzwords over and over again, and eventually you kind of get tired of them. So I think that's important to remember. And one individual ever said, he's not legally declaring a state of emergency, he's simply asking people to call their registers and make their voices heard, but it is shitty language to use, so yeah, fuck him. So, yeah, so the thing is that you shouldn't just be when you throwing around buzzwords like this, and you should definitely be calling out people who throw around buzzwords like this, I would say, because it gets tiring after a while, and that's important to remember. How we're all kind of tired of these constant buzzwords all the time. That's a lot of power for anyone to have, and from motherfucking ink, and that's a link to the r/white people talk Twitter subreddit, and that's a tweet by Paul Benson. The first guy saying the second guy is too powerful, and Elon Musk has $176.9 billion, and George Soros has $6.7 billion US dollars. So I definitely think, yeah, I guess you could make the argument that Elon's kind of being a hypocrite, but I do definitely think George Soros has managed to use his social capital much better than I think Elon has currently, and I think that's important to remember as well. So, I definitely think both of them, you could argue, are too powerful, but I think we need to remember that everyone is arguably too powerful if they can justify controlling the discourse, and I think both of these guys have the argument that they can control the discourse. Elon by owning Twitter, and George Soros by funding pretty much half of the U.S. like half the U.S. Major government institutions. Then we have, are libertarians greedy and delusional? A Soho foreign debate from Reasons.com. And, I guess you could make the argument, it depends on what you define greedy and delusional as. I personally am kind of not too greedy, I would say, more delusional, I would say. But, yeah, so I guess you could make the argument, yeah, about that, yeah. I would say everyone's kind of delusional to some extent. To be human is to be delusional, I would say. To some extent, to be delusional and irrational is almost is being human, I would say, yeah. Lobbyists depend on California to scuttle right to repair efforts from TechDirt.com by Harumph, and I guess that is, the lobbyists are always, as we said, they're always being influenced by foreign affairs, private interest and other non-private interests as well. So it's always important to remember who is controlling whom, because everyone has a puppet master, I would say, these days, and social media really shows you that. Texas abortion ban. Woman claims she was forced to birth stillborn son, from RollingStone.com by Puffin Fan. And I definitely think that is definitely too authoritarian there. So I think you should justify it as you shouldn't be justifying stuff like that. I guess you could have a pro-life argument that if he had even a 0.1% chance of surviving, that she shouldn't have been able to get the abortion. But I personally am more on letting the woman get an abortion there. So that's my thoughts there. How Joe Rogan acts as a gateway to radicalization from the Majority Report on Twitter and on YouTube. And I said, next up, how questioning the official DNC narrative at all is a gateway to radicalization. Joe Rogan is pro-abortion, pro-LGBT rights, and has a few controversial viewpoints. I get middle ground vibes from him. That's what Never Comment said. Planet Harrier said that. And I definitely think, if you're at this point, you're seen as radicalized if you question your official party narrative at all. And I think that's important to remember. I would say being radical is a good thing. I would consider myself a radical. Being radical means you question the order. And right now, you need to question the order more so than ever before, I would say. But, you should always be questioning the order no matter how much you agree with it, I would say. That's something I have to remember as well. And we have bill that bans Chinese citizens from buying real estate in Texas appears to be dead after Asian community rallies from WFIA.com by Harumph. I definitely think that's too authoritarian. I do think the bill had good intentions with preventing CCP officials from buying land in Texas. But good intentions don't always equal good results, as one of the doctrines of libertarianism, I would say, states. You always have to remember that you just can't let the government get away with anything. They should always let people buy whoever they want. I would say I personally don't think the CCP should be buying up land in Texas, but if they have the authority to do so, and I don't think it's the job of the U.S. government to stop that. Effort to kill state vehicle safety inspections advances in Texas Senate from NBCDFW.com by Harumph. They posted a lot in this episode. So I guess, this is deregulation, but I guess, it could be considered, too far. So I guess, people should justify. If you think the vehicles should have endless safety inspections, I think they should be able to, but I don't think they should be forced by the government to do so. The fruit of capitalism, the multimillionaire entrepreneur infused himself with blood from his 17-year-old son in a quest to stay on forever, parental cannibal vampires. What level of Dante's hellscape does our society fall into? From Insider.com by Chi-Town. And yeah, I definitely think that's a little too far, but as long as it's consensual, I think that should be legal. So that's my thoughts there. Then we have LA spent for $7,500 on a prototype bus shade that doesn't say anything from Reason.com. I posted that. And I said, that's government for you, taking what should be useful and cheap, something useful and cheap, and making it useless and expensive. So, yeah, the government will always find a way to add tack on costs and regulate everything, and you won't be able to get anything. Like, I could probably make this shade for probably, you could probably get an expert metal worker make it for $200, but no, it costs $7,500, and it doesn't really do anything. So yeah, video shows impatient Florida man pulling semi-automatic handgun on ATM users, so you can thank Republicans for releasing these goons on the public. That's a link to the White People Twitter. Stella Parson tweeted that. And I definitely think, anyone can snap, spike, blah, 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 anyone can snap at any second, and it's important to remember that we shouldn't use that as a reason to restrict people's access to guns and other things that they should be able to own if they feel like it, as long as they don't violate snap. So that's my thoughts on that issue, and I think we're gonna wrap it up with that, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye!